It looks like Orion Wheaton Railroad Avenue Crosswalks.
I told you last week that we would bring back some information on the side street crosswalks from 1st to 7th. So a recap, and we'll talk about what transpired last week with Washington Department of Transportation, which I think will be helpful, and then we can talk about an estimate. So just to recap, we had $15,000 to put in a traffic dot or a mini circle at 4th and Railroad. We've utilized that with this project to improve the road diet, and the budget that you heard a couple weeks ago was $20,000, of which $5,000 will be absorbed through the street department. We had a concern moving forward that we weren't going to be able to get done in time for Forest Festival. We're on a very tight schedule. Last week, Public Works Department and then the mayor went over as well to Washington, or to WashDOT, to discuss their work. So WashDOT actually owns the intersection at 1st and Railroad, and we need them to help because to reduce from one lane, we need one lane coming in to Railroad. They initially told us on Monday that their timeline was likely going to be 3 or 4 months, and through a good amount of work from our public works staff and then going over for an in-person discussion, they have agreed to help us get that done, and they're going to come in, weather permitting, and get their work done on May 22nd, which will be a big help. So weather permitting, we should have all the work done prior to Forest Festival. With that being said, there is an additional cost for their work. So they've estimated $2,000 to $4,000 for them to come through, change their signals to arrows, and put up some extra signage. So they're going to have their crew out to do that work. With regard to the side street crosswalks, we are looking at an estimate of $16,100. That's in addition to what was proposed by staff 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that would cover side streets from 1st to 7th, and then around the bend, if you will, at 7th, it would go all the way around. So there's the potential at 7th that you could stop and kind of bookend from 1st to 7th without doing the sides and the other side of 7th Street in front of where Batstones used to be.
And that would bring the cost down a little bit.
It would bring it down to an estimated $11,700. And that would essentially be from 1st to 7th without side streets at 1st or 7th.
Are we supposed to comment?
You want us to give some feedback on this?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, we can comment.
Well, I've been thinking about this last week. I thought that would be great to spend this week before, I'm not exactly sure when it was, but to spend the $7,000, $8,000 and get the side streets crosswalks done. And I totally think that it would just look awesome to do this. And then it came up to where it'd probably be more like 15,000, and then Craig said we probably could get it down to 11,000 if we did this and that. So this morning I was thinking, we'd have the Transportation Benefit District money, which is brought in by everybody that shops in Shelton, businesses that bring in customers that come into their stores. So everybody, county and citywide, even out-of-towners that shop here in Shelton, they all contribute to this benefit district, the tax benefit district. And it's for streets, sidewalks, crosswalks, lights, whatever. And we have a good little amount I believe we have a good little amount in that fund right now. The thing I'm concerned about is that we could use it out of that, which would be great, or we could go elsewhere, but we don't know if there's any money elsewhere at this point, not for a few months. So I kind of was thinking that since it's a town issue and a town project, shopping and building this money up, we could take this money and pave us a street somewhere in town, which would be great because people are hollering to have their streets. But now that I think about it, I think that I would probably like to go ahead and do that, use some of the money out of the fund and get this done. And I may be out to lunch on this one, but I think that it would affect many more than just the people on a street that's getting their street paved. So that's how I feel about that.
All right.
Okay. Is it my turn?
You can if you want.
Okay. I believe that we owe it to our citizens to give them the very best that we can do. And we know that our real estate excise tax will be going up because if you ask any realtor around, the real estate market is hot and hopping. And traditionally that has been a fund that has funded street improvements. I don't know if it would be sidewalks or at least the paving of the streets and all that. So I anticipate that fund is going to get higher. I do believe, we would have to check, that I do believe that the Transportation Benefit District dollars could be used for this. And I do believe that if we are a little more creative, that we can also justify increasing the amount of dollars that are going into our general fund in other ways, such as negotiating and changing some of the fees that we have reduced for our building and development fees. So it's my opinion that Shelton deserves the best. I believe that there are things that we're so limited on as far as what we can actually do, such as reducing our fees for our utilities. We're kind of limited what we can do. So the people that are here who support our businesses, who support our community, deserve and they want a better city. And I believe that this would greatly enhance our downtown. It would greatly enhance our business community, our shopping experience downtown, as well as the visual that would show that we care about our community. And frankly, one of my major reasons for this, besides the aesthetically, is I don't believe it would be safe to have just the white bars going across the streets where we have stop signs. I think that the visual, as far as the perception of the darker painted crosswalks on the side, the white painted lines going through would indicate to me that you just drive through there. But I am in favor of whatever we do to find the money to finish the project and complete the painted crosswalks on the numbered streets as well.
Can I say one more thing?
No,
Okay, your turn?
it is my turn, but go ahead.
Okay. I know that we have citizens that, back to the paving of the streets, we have citizens that really want our streets paved. And if there was no money in this Transportation Benefit District Fund, and we were at a point where we don't know if there's much money in the street fund, and we wouldn't know for several months, and are we just taking a guess at this? That would make me very uncomfortable to go ahead with a project. It's like, doing something on your house and not knowing if there's going to be any money, but you go ahead and do it, and hopefully the money comes in. That makes me very nervous on that. But we do know there is money in the fund, and if we can do a project for $11,000 or $12,000 out of that fund, I think that makes the downtown area just sparkle. So that's my opinion.
All right. And I thought about this, and I made my decision earlier, and then I've been thinking a lot about this actually. And what I would like to say is that the one thing that Shelton has not been real good at in the past is sticking to budgets and understanding that everything you do, whether it's millions and millions of dollars or just a few tens of thousands of dollars, it has consequences if you go. That's why you have a budget. You have a budget that says, we're going to do this year. This is within our budget. And I think we've done the past few years very well at not going outside our budget. And so, to me, I could see what's $15,000, but I really believe that we are in a process of turning the financial direction of this city around to where we have been a lot more prudent in these things. And what I'm looking at is, and I will say this statement right here, the one thing we don't do real well is it's called deferred gratification. That's the word that I like to come up with, is that we, like everybody, we want things now. And so if we had practiced a little more deferred gratification over the past, we might not have probably been $47+ million in debt. We might have been less in debt. So this is kind of like a decision that I'm going to vote against this as I did before. Not that I don't want them done. I would love to have them done. But what I would do is I would just put it in next year's budget, because we've had some emergency expenses that have come up too in the past week or two. And so, Craig Gregory, could I draw from your wisdom on this? How are you doing on your budget? Because this goes outside of the budget, and we were, the pumps we had to get fixed and everything. So haven't we kind of gone into the zone to where your budget, you're kind of on the edge of things a little bit there?
Are you talking utility budgets or general fund budgets?
Well, I guess you can talk about both if you want. I'm just saying that we have a budget, and we have a little extra in the budget to take care of emergency needs. Okay, and I thought in one of these, whether it's utilities, that might be the one where the pumps were, that you're pressing the envelope for the year on how much extra you've got.
Utility budgets are having some issues right now.
Having some issues.
Some major expenses that we did not have budgeted, so we are going to struggle in our utility budgets this year. That is correct.
Okay, that's the budget I was kind of talking about. Here's the other thing is I'm really excited that we had the TBD fund, but when we did this, we said, we want asphalt. We want pavement. We don't want a lot of sidewalks. We don't, we're really, you want to talk about a commitment to our citizens. We made a commitment to them that we would put a majority of this money into paving streets, and painting isn't exactly pavement. Now, I already said I'd love to have them. I'm not against them, but I do know that if we practice a little more deferred gratification, then what we do is say, let's make it a commitment. Let's make it a priority next year. This will be in the budget, and we will do them next year. Now, that's kind of where I'm leaning on the situation. Back to your point, Ryan, you talked about the cost $16,100, but then there was something you said $11,700. So could you refresh my memory?
Sure.
We won't do a couple of things if we...
So the difference there is that once you hit 7th, so where the Shelton Inn is, we would stop there and not do across the street and the side streets at 7th.
Okay, so it's kind of a scaled down version.
Correct. We would
Okay.
take off 3 legs.
Right. And Commissioner McDowell and Commissioner Moore, are you happy with that $11,700 project? That's where we are, right?
If Craig and Ryan were to say, we can't do it for anything less than 16,000 or 15,000, I would say we're going to have to wait. But if you can scale it down to, I know it's just not a whole lot less, but it is somewhat less, then can we then next year do the ones that we're leaving off now?
Well, I'm sure we can. I just wanted to know that you both were on. Were you, Commissioner Moore, were you on?
I'm just waiting for another chance to talk, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah,
So,
I will,
I'm comfortable.
I have some questions.
I'm comfortable with the 11,000. I
Okay.
would not be at 15,000. I would probably say let's wait
Okay.
on that. But if we can do it for 11,700-ish, if it looks like it's going to go more than that, I don't know.
Okay, so, this is what it's all about, is making tough decisions. It's kind of like we got rules and policies and budgets and all this kind of a deal, and who knows what happens. We may have some other emergencies, which I can guarantee you we will this year, which is more money. So I'm going to not support either one of these, not that I don't think it's a good idea, but it's just we have a budget. We have a commitment to our citizens to try and stay within a budget. We have a commitment to our cities to put most of that TBD money into asphalt rather than paint. And that, to me, doing the railroad highway diet is not, it's not the end of the world if we chose to do that later. It's kind of like, should I get a Cadillac with all the extra features or just get the Cadillac, you know? So we all have budgets in our lives and things, and so I would say do it next year. That's only my opinion. I'm only one of three. So Commissioner Moore, you can,
Yes,
you
thank
can have
you.
your time now.
Thank you. Okay. I would second what the mayor said as far as I am a bit uncomfortable about using the Transportation Benefit District monies for this. I believe that legally we can, but I don't believe that is the, I don't believe that's what we marketed and how we got the support of our citizens. I know that it was a controversial issue even between the commissioners as far as getting that passed. And so I think that we have to honor the desires of the citizen and their votes for this. However, that money is there. I don't know, are REIT funds available? Can we use the REIT funds for this, or does anybody know that?
I don't know, but I can check into it.
Okay. And then finally, I do believe our general fund will be improving this year through various other options, various ways. And so I believe that we won't have problem meeting that through whichever means that we choose. I would like to, just for the point of clarification, point out that the pumps were not, the pump issue that we've had, the pump emergency that we've had, that money is out of a separate fund.
That's
That is
right.
out of a utility fund and not the general fund, which is
Right.
what we would be using this for. We don't have a separate street utility, so we get the funding for our streets through several different pots of money. And for so as far as I'm aware, the better fund for this street painting would be out of our general fund. But that isn't to say we can't get it. But we can't get money from the sewer or the water fund to pay for streets, or vice versa. So I am in favor. I would prefer to do the entire streets, but I do understand the constraints of our budget. And if it means getting the numbered streets paved, if we can get agreement from two of us commissioners, then I would go with the reduced street area to get those numbered streets painted as well. And I believe, as I said a few weeks ago, I believe that sometimes the benefits that we can get from doing improvements are far greater than the money that we expend for those, in the way that our community feels about itself, in the experience that visitors come. And I just feel strongly that we need to do this.
Okay. I had a question for our city manager. If we chose not to do the transportation benefit money, let's say we're not going to do that, where would this, it would be, and I think, I don't know, I'm leaning towards we probably will come to a consensus around the $11,700. Where would the money come from?
It would have to come from general fund.
General fund.
Or streets, and which is one and the same. We'd, at that point, need to figure out a way to pay for it.
Mhm.
If we did have excess revenue, we could certainly look there. Otherwise, it would be through a budget amendment where we look at something that we're not going to do.
Or reserves, right? Are you,
I wouldn't recommend using reserves for this.
I mean, but we have probably that money in the general fund to do this if we don't have other situations. I mean.
Potentially.
Potentially. Okay. Well, I think that we're probably getting close. And again, this is just the process. We all have opinions. And so I guess it's between Commissioner Moore and Commissioner McDowell on the 11,700 or the 16. You know, I guess, are we going to do a motion? It looks like this is something that you're just presenting as a report.
Right.
But I think we do need to move. I think we can move forward with this.
It sounds like there's
Consensus
still
to do
the
something, yes.
same amount of people that want to move forward.
Uh-huh.
So do we need a motion for that, or do we didn't ever move not to go forward
Correct.
with it? So
Correct.
it would be a modification at this point?
I think you could amend, because I think you did use a dollar amount.
For the 7,000.
So I think you could amend that motion to increase.
Okay, I would like to, I move that we amend the prior motion that we accepted and voted on to do the entire side street painting along Railroad Avenue, the numbered streets crosswalks, to modify that motion to take off the First Street intersection and the 7th Street intersection for a budget amendment of $11,700.
Does that sound okay? All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, there's a
Before you vote, can we do public comment, see if there's anything?
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
We've kind of got an action thing. If anybody else has some comments they want to add into this mix, this would be an opportunity where we would welcome comments pertaining to this specific issue. Yes, Mr. Cooper's already signed up. There's 3 more minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, commissioners. You heard a little bit of my encouragement there earlier about the business community, and I just want to reiterate that the Transportation Benefit District is collected by businesses. What that means is that the more business we generate, the more money we create for those funds. When you do an improvement that's an aesthetic improvement like this, it not only makes the town look better and generate more business, it also boosts morale. It lets the businesses know that you're thinking about them and you appreciate what they're doing down there. There have been a lot of citizens that have participated and businesses that have participated in the downtown visioning. And if we can give them some sort of visual result from all of their efforts and all of their money that's been involved in investing in this, a small hint of color would go a long ways. So thank you for considering this, and I would just like to remind you that we all need a morale boost once in a while, and we all appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Is there somebody else?
Yes, we have Jeannie.
So hi, I'm Jeannie Raywald. I live at 1017 North 8th Street on North Cliff, and I am the executive director for Mason Matters. And I wanted to point out that healthy communities involve corridors and places where people come to walk and to play and to shop. They include active local participation, integration of local and state planning efforts, which it sounds like we're doing with the Washington State DOT, and pilot studies to help the communities in planning efforts. And I just want to say that you guys have done this the right way. You've tried things, and if they didn't work, you've listened and you've changed them. And I'm really excited to have the red crosswalks, and I will help to promote the reason why they're important. And maybe Ms. Crone, who wrote our letter to the editor in the Journal about misappropriation of funds and everything, maybe I can get a hold of her and talk to her a little bit about how it really is going to help our community and bring more dollars to the community to get more roads paved. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, I had a point before we make this motion, or did we decide, do we need to make a distinction on whether we're going to get the money out of the Transportation Benefit District or the general fund? Do we need that? We're just okaying it, or do we need to specifically say which fund we want to take this out of? That's,
Can we come back on that?
It would be helpful to know.
yeah, I would think so.
But I think that it might also be helpful for you if we can get some information on where we are with the general fund. So if you vote to move forward, we can certainly figure that out and bring it back to get direction before we need to pay for it.
That sounds good.
Okay.
All right, then I guess we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion passes.